We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. World Series Game 2 is upon us. The Atlanta Braves take Game 1. Can the Astros tie the series? We will be monitoring that tonight. But we do got a lot of LSU and some New Orleans Saints talk that we're going to get into. Mark Ingram is back. The dynamic duo of AK and MI are back. And the AYS Rudy crew will be live and in action with the Saints versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. We're going to tell Tom Brady he can kiss our Rudy Poo asses. But we will be live. We will be live. Tonight's going to be spent on a lot of LSU and Ed Orgeron. So I will say this. There was some big news today. We got to get into it. Ruffino's rants right off the top. We will touch on everything that's happening today around LSU football. And I guess we could say, or I could say, what's not going on around LSU football. We will touch on that. The biggest hire in LSU history. I make my case why Scott Woodward has to get this one right or all hell is going to break loose. Is Bama vulnerable in this specific area? We will get on the field. It's a long way away until the game with LSU versus Bama, but the area is a key area that Bama is very vulnerable. Can LSU attack that with the minimal players that they have? I'm kind of warming up a little bit to this playoff expansion in college football, a little. Still not a huge fan, but I'm warming up to it a little. We will touch on that, and as I told you, we are monitoring the Game 2 of the World Series. I fell asleep last night, and I think the ninth inning, couldn't keep my eyes open, but it's okay. It's okay. I mean, the game was kind of out of hand. I say out of hand for World Series ways. All right, let's get to a couple of comments before we get started. Andrew Brister says, welcome back, Mark Ingram. Kirk Paul says, I can practice if LSU needs bodies. Derek says, I have never heard of a program not having enough players to practice. This is an absolute joke. Rob Boudreaux on YouTube says, I like it here and share to Twitter. Yes, please do. And let's go. Let's do. Please do. Jeffrey said, shared to Facebook and Twitter. Thank you, Jeffrey. I greatly appreciate that. So let's do this. Let's do this. Everybody that's watching this, do us a favor by hitting that like and share. If you're on Facebook, share to your Facebook group, Facebook pages, share to some Facebook groups. Also, if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscription bell or subscription button and notification bell. It greatly helps us out a lot. We will be putting up a clip from this episode either tonight or tomorrow in reference to what we talk about tonight. It's going to be what I think maybe an epic rant. I know that I'm going to get in trouble for it, but who really cares at this point? I'm going to need Father Matthew Abair Father Abair is going to have to really cast some blessings my way for what I'm about to do to LSU football and Ed Orgeron. So you're going to want to hit the like and share. You're going to want to share to some Facebook groups. If you're on Twitter, follow, hit the retweet, all that kind of stuff. So let's do this. We got a lot to get into. Game 2 of the World Series underway. Let's do this. Let's pay some bills, and then we'll get into it. It's going to be pretty epic. Stay tuned. Guys, with 64 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Vornado & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. And tell him your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by, or go see him over at 2500 Florida Boulevard in Denham Springs, Louisiana. And our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, we are 11-0 in our last 11 picks in the NFL. We're hitting parlays. We're hitting single games. We are on a hot streak. But where are we doing it? betonline.ag. Guys, get over there today. Sign up. Use your 50% welcome bonus. Use the AYS podcast tab. And then that way they will know, since you're in the state of Louisiana, that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. That's betonline.ag. betonline.ag. All right, let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Doug says, "Go Cubs." Wait, never mind. I could say the same about the Yankees. I could say the same about the Yankees. I'm highly disappointed, but I'm glad. I am glad that Boston's not in there. Hashtag what up, Stephen Miller. So Cody says, Blake, what is next for LSU? Is a new coach willing to take on this big of a mess? And Andrew Brister says, 1 month from Ed Orgeron not embarrassing us anymore. Woohoo. So if you missed it, and Coach Jeremy Gildner says LSU gets embarrassed by Alabama and Woolward has to retract the original agreement. Coach O gone after next week. So let's talk about this. If you missed it today, Ed Orgeron was on his SEC teleconference, and he was asked a question about what are they doing in the bye week, something to that nature. And Ed Orgeron told the media that LSU did not have enough players to practice today. Now, I can confirm, and LSU has confirmed to us and to me, that they went inside and practiced today, or limited and practiced today. Ed Orgeron would go on to say in the SEC teleconference that they did not have enough players to do the Tiger Bowl, which they do on every bye week. That's at the end of the week, usually on Thursdays, when the younger players play a little small game and the older guys coach. It's really fun. They keep some score. Former Franklinton graduate Adrian McGee, offensive lineman, was left guard for the 2019 national championship winning Tigers, caught a touchdown pass, I think, in 2017. It was really funny to watch him catch a touchdown pass. So it's usually a very light week, but you do have to go through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, very light practices. However, last week, Ed Orgeron said and confirmed to CBS and that LSU only had about 50 scholarship bodies and only a few walk-ons that travel with them to Oxford, to Ole Miss. And today, Ed Orgeron says this. So I'm about to go on a rant because this is the part of Ed Orgeron and the PR nightmare and the roster management and the shit that can't go on at LSU. On the SEC official website, and you can look this up. I can send you a link if you want it. On the SEC's official website to start the season, LSU had either scholarship or walk-on combined 123 players on their active roster. 123. Today, they are less and pushing less to closing in on 50. Now, Ed Orgeron said today that it was due to a lot of injuries. Guys, I'm going to sit here and tell you that 70 players are not injured. 70 players that from the beginning of the season aren't hurt. Now, you do have some transfers. You do have some guys that are injured. We know Derek Stingley, who had surgery. We know Elias Ricks. We know Ali Gay, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not 70. Ed Orgeron has proven, this proves that as a head coach, after having success, that he has no idea what in the hell he is doing. Roster management in college football with the transfer portal and guys leaving early is the biggest thing as a recruiter and as a head coach you have to do. Ed Orgeron almost implying that they might not have enough numbers to play Alabama next week is absolutely embarrassing to everyone that's an LSU fan. Completely embarrassing. And don't tell me, well, Blake, there's so many guys that left in 2019, opted out in 2020. Guys, Alabama, Ohio State, all these teams deal with this. When you have success, they deal with this on a daily basis, on a yearly basis. What else do you have to see to be confirmed that Ed Orgeron has a personal vendetta because he got fired and he doesn't give a shit anymore? What will it take for every Ed Orgeron homer, which everybody accused me of being so many months ago? He doesn't want that smoke. He doesn't want that action. $123 players down to somewhere 50. Now, let me say this because I know what this is going to do and how this is going to get me in trouble, and I know LSU is going to reach out after this podcast. If there is not only 50 players on this roster right now that's ready to go or active live bodies, Ed Orgeron needs to confirm that when he's with the media. Because when you say that, it has a bunch of distinctions to it. What do you mean you only have 50 players? If you're wondering, if you're asking if players are quitting on Orgeron, well, you're damn right they are. You know why? Because they see what you don't. Well, Blake, LSU players came out last week defending Coach O. So how the hell do you know? Because actions speak louder than words. Actions speak louder than words. When the actions of players are to give up on the team, I say give up. I shouldn't say give up. Because majority of these guys, I went on a full rant last week about Eli Ricks and telling LSU fans that they could shove it because the kid had a torn labrum for more than 6 weeks. But if Ed Orgeron as a coach is going to have the actions that he has outside of the field and acts like he doesn't care, why do you think the players should? Seconds after Texas A&M, LSU is over with. LSU has to have a coach announced. Because this feels to me, and I think that LSU will come out of this. It's not what I'm not saying this to think that LSU is going to go here. Guys, it's not difficult to get into a situation like your Florida State or your Miami or your Nebraska or your USC. You think USC doesn't want to win? Do you think Miami doesn't want to win? Do you think Florida State doesn't win? No, their fan base, their athletic directors, their presidents aren't sitting back saying we want to get our asses kicked. They're not saying that. They're not saying that. So why this comes to me as being one of, if not the biggest hires in LSU history. You have set a precedent over the last 20 years. You have set the precedent over the last 20 years with national titles, with SEC titles. So to sit here and say that LSU can take a step back, no, we can't. Guys, in the majority of my life, 2/3 of my life, LSU has kicked everybody's ass. By damn, they're going to fall back. You got to have the right coach to go out and hire and make sure that that doesn't happen. In my personal opinion, this doesn't just fall on Scott Woodward. This doesn't just fall, on Ed Orgeron. This also falls on Scott Woodward, your athletic director. Blake, now Blake's really getting into it now. Blake, you're about to be wrong on this one. What am I wrong about? Because I see so many people saying, Blake, get off of Orgeron, get off of Orgeron. Guys, he's doing it to the program that you love. The only reason that your ass is in this show right now is because you love LSU football. That's the only reason why. Does Ed Orgeron? I know Scott Woodward does, but he doesn't let Ed Orgeron go last Sunday because Ed Orgeron more than likely tells Scott Woodward that he's going to tell everybody where the bodies are buried. When he has to go in a deposition for Title IX about allegedly covering up a rape, again, I've gone over that and think that we can't convict Ed Orgeron on he said, she said, like so many have. One place I will defend him. You can't do that. Due process has to play out. But you think Ed Orgeron wouldn't cut things loose? Do you think if Ed Orgeron wasn't being paid $17 million, that he wouldn't do something? Oh, and by the way, he's going to see every one of your recruits this week. You know those guys that are committed to play for LSU football next year, guys like Walker Howard that's going to be a mid-tournament enrollee, those kind of guys? Ed Orgeron says he's going to see him this week. What is he going to tell him? I told you this Sunday. I told you this Monday. What the hell is he going to tell him? Hey, we don't have enough players. Everybody's leaving. 123 guys. I don't care if you got to play walk-ons. What do you mean you don't have enough guys to practice? The way that I take that is that of the 123 guys, even the walk-ons, you don't have enough live bodies. What the hell does that mean? Do you have 70 guys that have left the program and or are injured? Because if that's the case, somebody else needs to be fired along with Ed Orgeron. This is embarrassing. This is a disgrace. And if you don't agree with me, I'm sorry, but it's just the truth. Take off the purple and gold blinders for just 5 minutes. And I have a very good feeling in 10 or 5 years, maybe even less than 5 years, we're going to all sit back and say, you know what, Blake, you were right. Ed Orgeron was a dumbass. He was a dumbass. Guys, you're going to go into Tuscaloosa next week with close to 50 live bodies. Let me repeat that. You're going to go into Tuscaloosa with 50 live bodies. That's like, I don't know what it, I would say like, it's like the biggest school in Louisiana playing, like a Class B school. It's like Mount Hermon. Go, if you don't know where Mount Hermon is, Google it. It's like Mount Hermon playing West Monroe at West Monroe. Maybe not that bad. Maybe it's not that bad. LSU has to clean house. LSU from the top, from the bottom, has to clean house. It doesn't do me any favors. I've built relationships with people inside of that building. But I've told you from day one, and please listen to me when I tell you this. It does me no favors to say what I'm about to say. I have built relationships with people inside that building. But for the sake of LSU and for the sake of LSU football, things have to happen and things have to change for us to be relevant. You understand what I'm saying? Dare Rosenthal, your starting left tackle, playing for Kentucky, and because he smokes a little weed. Well, Blake, he shouldn't have done it. Guys, I'm sorry, and it's not like, well, everybody else is doing it, so you should do it too. Well, Blake, everybody's jumping off the bridge, so that doesn't mean you have to do it. But guys, from compliance all the way down, it's a train wreck. It's an absolute train wreck from the top to the bottom. Cats in the cradle and the silver spoon. Get all of their asses out of there. If you're wondering if it's that bad, hell yeah, it's that bad. I see comments people asking me if it's that bad. Hell yeah, it's that bad. It's horrific. Guys, you don't have enough players to practice. Think about this. What do I have to say to every LSU fan for it to get through your skull? You don't have enough players to practice, and next week you go face the number 2 team in the country. You're not Old Dominion. You're not UConn. You're not Vandy. You're not any of those schools. You're LSU. So if you want to start acting like it, get that hobo out of there. How many times do we have to come out here and talk about this buffoon saying we don't have enough guys to practice? You don't say that in media availabilities. There's some shit you don't talk about. Why is this man here? Do you realize you're a laughing stock across the nation? Guys, LSU is a laughing stock across the nation because they don't have enough players to practice. Joel says, dude, you loved him. Can't turn around 180 now. The hell I can't. The hell I can't. Why can't I? Why can't I? Everybody else can do it. Go get on their ass. See, here's the problem with everybody that doesn't understand this. I tell you when I'm wrong, unlike those that don't. I'm man enough to say where I'm wrong. Because like you, I'm a human being. Oh, I'm a Blake. Blake's always right. Blake's right on the sources. It takes kind of suck sometimes. Do you realize For the life of me, I don't understand why LSU fans are defending this. 123 guys on an active roster to 50. Now, if Ed Orgeron wants to come out here, Derek Panamsky wants to rip me a new asshole, I really don't give a shit. But you got to clarify when you're in media availabilities. All right. Let's get to a couple comments. Travis Dyson, what's up, bro? Travis, listen, I love Travis to death. He be getting on my ass now. Listen, if there's one AYS follower that gets on my ass anytime I'm wrong, it's my friend Travis Dyson. What's up, Travis? He says Ed had everybody fooled. Well, everybody but me. I will give him that. 2019, my man was saying the guy's Rudy Poo. I got to give him that now. Kirk Paul says, is Panamsky cut the feed? He ain't going to cut this feed. What's he going to cut this feed for? Brian Champagne says, since Jack Marucci got their players have been hurt. Guys, again, whenever the new coaching staff come, look, I love Corey Raymond. I love Mickey Joseph. I do. Do I want the next coach, the next head coach, to come in here and keep those two guys? Yes, personally, I do. I think that they've shown that they're good recruiters. I think that they're shown that they're good position coaches. I think that they've shown that they relate to players well. I think that they've shown that they love LSU. There's a lot of things that Mickey Joseph and Corey Raymond have done. A lot. However, whoever the next head coach is, if he does not want to keep those two guys on staff, we have to be okay with it. Mike Smith says Coach O will never be a head coach again after this clown show. Yeah, guys don't forget. Guys don't forget, and fan bases don't forget about things that you do at the end of your tenure. Guys, this is unraveling at the seams. It's unraveling at the seams. Kenny Russell says, sadly, they will have to clean house. This stuff isn't pretty at all. It's disgusting. It is disgusting. Guys, that's a base hit. It is disgusting. Talking about the biggest LSU, in my opinion, one of, if not the biggest, and I could sit here and make a debate if this isn't the biggest head coaching job or head coaching hire for football ever. Ever. Because you have done the things that you've done over the last 20 years. And you have a guy that's running it into the ground. Ed Orgeron is right now being a vindictive butthole. He is. This might be wrong of me, and people might hate me for saying this, but it's just my personality. It is just my personality. I hate losing. I'm a very competitive individual. Very, very competitive individual. If you do 2 reps, let me try to do 3. If Alabama's doing something, if Florida's doing something, if Georgia's doing something, hell, I want to be a part of the party. I want to go kick some ass. Michael Porter says, I disagree about cleaning house. We got to keep Corey Raymond, Mickey Joseph, and the special teams coach at least. Guys, it doesn't, whoever your next head coach is, he has to have autonomy to do whatever he wants. You can't start hand-picking guys for him to hire. Because the last time that happened, it was Ed Orgeron. Ed Orgeron didn't get his strength and conditioning coach. He didn't get his defensive coordinator, which I will give him credit for keeping Dave because, look, he was going to A&M, and we, go back and check the record. We broke that story that he was staying. Everybody called me an idiot. Who else did he have? Ensminger. There was a lot. Jack Marucci. There was a lot of people that Ed Orgeron inherited. Sometimes things can get stale. the Cochran guy, who's now a special teams coach, or before he started popping pills, he was Nick's strength and conditioning coach. And after a while, when he thought his players were getting a little too soft, he cut him loose. That's the GOAT. That's a GOAT where a guy's been with him for over 15, 16 years, and he said, see ya. Bye-bye. You're not ruining my program. Mark says people need to take blinders off and realize what's going on. I agree with that. And look, all of those people that aren't taking off the blinders are ripping me a new one on Twitter. I really kind of don't care. I really, really, really don't care, because I'm kind of just going back with them. But don't put words in my mouth, though. Ed Orgeron is saying all of this stuff. Like, we get that, okay? Like, this isn't Blake Ruffino's take. This isn't what Blake Ruffino thinks. This isn't what Blake Ruffino is, I didn't just come out with this with thin air. I'm repeating what your head coach of LSU football said. So when I'll get to Quinn's question in just a second. But when you ask me why I probably don't want Lane Kiffin, do you know why now? Because I think LSU needs a guy that's buttoned up, who can connect to players and say, hey, when it's time to party, we party. When it's time to work, we go to work. Someone that can build a relationship with somebody. There's so many other things that can be confirmed about Ed Orgeron that can't come out right now. Oh, you weren't expecting that one word. Well, Blake, that's not fair. You can't say that. But I will tell you this, for the safety and sanctity of LSU football, that will be not coming from me. One day I will show you, maybe one day when I retire, I will show you half of the messages that I get of pictures and screenshots. And Blake, I was at with so-and-so, and guess who we saw? Are you really with them? Yeah, here's a picture. You think that shit doesn't go on? Are you that naive to think that kind of shit doesn't go on? I came out here and said a while back that Ed Orgeron was throwing chairs up against the wall, got called out for it, and then, Blake, did you hear Ed Orgeron was throwing chairs up against the wall before Kentucky? Guys, I said it during the post-game show. Yeah, I was a little tipsy. Or Sunday, because we didn't do the Saturday post-game show. We were at a Rudy Poo wedding. Astros score 1-0. My good friend C. King says, most of us knew Coach O was as good as his coordinator hires. We trusted him to make the right hires, not be a good coach. Right on. Roderick says, hand Venables a blank check as the defensive coordinator. I'm sure the head coach will be offensive-minded. I agree with that. I mean, that fits into Scott Woodward's tenure. So, yeah. Will on Facebook says, I don't think I've ever heard of a 3A team say I can't practice due to injuries. Pretty much a Power 5. Yeah. Blaine Smith says, is drinking Natty Light and eating oyster dressing. He's eating more than oyster dressing. He's eating dressing, all right? He's eating all right. That's not what y'all think. Jamie says, totally agree. I thought him staying till the end of the season was best until today. Yeah, and look, this does fall on Scott Woodward. Look, this also falls on the entire administration. This falls on everybody's lap. Well, if Blake, the argument is, Ed will go out there and he'll sling bodies and he'll bury people. No, you say, here's $17 million. You're going to sign this document saying that you're going to have LSU attorneys for your deposition, and if you say a word outside of LSU, you're not getting a single penny. Guys, at the post-game press conference with Scott Woodward, he's laughing about how much money he's going to get. All these other people thinking that this isn't a big deal. Guys, this is a big deal. It's not just, well, Blake thinks it's a big deal. Bullshit. It's a big deal to everything. It's a big deal to everybody. It's a big deal to LSU. It's a big deal to recruiting. It's a big deal to boosters. It's a big deal to the alumni. You think boosters aren't pissed off when Ed Orgeron said that today? You should check this phone and see how many phone calls I'm getting. And one booster said that he can't believe a Power 5 head coach, much less the head coach at LSU, is running out there saying that he doesn't have enough guys to practice on a bye week when you go in helmets and you don't even go in pads. Guys, they're not even going in pads this week. They're going in helmets, light shells. What do you mean you don't have 22 guys that can go? Run on air, for crying out loud, like I give a shit. Because running on air, it would be just as effective. You know, Ed Orgeron talks about, oh, well, what's the biggest thing that's problems with our program right now? Well, defensively, we get out of our lanes. We don't fit the scheme well. Offensive line doesn't know their blocking assignments. Well, you know what? You don't have to go full speed to get assignments down. Go 25%. Learn. Let these guys learn where they need to go on counters. Let these guys know where they need to go on zone blocking schemes. Get timing down with the receivers. How fucking hard is that? You mean to tell me that we don't have 22 fucking players? Every freaking day I come out here and I say, I'm not going to talk about Ed Orgeron off the field, and then he does something more egregious every single time. Sid King says, roll tide, what F you, didn't age well. No, it didn't. And they're pissed. Mark Allen says, here's $17 million to shut the F up and go home. Travis Dyson says, had they fired him, y'all would have been up in arms. No, we wouldn't have. Everybody was calling for his head. Just as recently as a month ago, people were saying Woodward was working against him. He was. You know how he was? Travis, here's the thing, buddy. And I'm glad now that I can tell you this. Brother, we knew at UCLA that he was going to fire him. It was just a matter of when, not if. He was making phone calls after they got beat by UCLA. You think things just magically appear? Travis, I would promise, and all 402 of you that are watching us live right now, things don't magically appear in this game. Things that you never thought would have happened don't magically appear. Sourcing just doesn't happen to come out. Aaron Adams says, I agree that the experiment is over and O can just go home. Blaine Smith says, Blake ain't going to have no sources anymore. He blasting everybody. I have sources. They don't confirm. LSU don't the football guys in football ops don't confirm shit anyway unless your name's Ross Dellinger or it's really it. They refuse to confirm anything. You guys remember when we broke the Bo Pelini story? Everybody that's followed AYS for a while, y'all remember when we broke that? I asked LSU on a Friday if it was confirmed. They said no comment. I said, can you please confirm story's going out in 5 minutes? They said, do not run the story. I said, please confirm. I ran the story. This is how it went down. So you want to know this is how it went down. Please confirm the story because I have a credible source who said it that said Bo Pelini would be the next defensive coordinator. Can you please confirm? Went out Monday, they came and did it. Knew on Thursday night that Bo Pelini was the next defensive coordinator at LSU. Was giving LSU the decency. If they would have told me to wait until Monday and that you will be the first to run the story and we'll give you the go ahead, I would have done it. But they don't have the cojones because they want a little blue check by your name. Don't act like shit don't be going on behind the scenes. Don't act like that. I've given them more times than not. Pooh Bear says, to be fair, Auburn cleaned house and don't seem to be having any issues. That's true. Josh Taylor says, crazy idea. Pete Carroll, he's old, but he connects with players. God, no. You can't go from Ed and you can't go get the Prince. You can't fire the Prince or, well, Ed Orgeron's not the Prince. You can't fire, what was that guy from Game of Thrones? the Hound. You can't fire the Hound and then go get King Joffrey. You can't do it. You can't do it. I was going to get to where Bama's vulnerable. How long are we in here? 39 minutes. Oh, God. Greg Dyke says, well, at least Alabama won't have film on the new players. That's a good point, but that's not going to stop them. All right, so we can even talk about a little bit where Bama's vulnerable. The good thing for LSU is that Bama is vulnerable in their front seven defensively. The bad thing is that LSU doesn't have enough players to practice to be able to know how to do zone blocking schemes or counter gap schemes. That they don't know how to do that. Guys, we've seen over and over and over again this season, Florida push Alabama around up front. Tennessee, even though they lost and don't have the personnel and don't have as much talent as you do, pushed around Alabama's front seven. Outside of Will Anderson, who is a freaking stud. This would be the game if you're Les Miles, right? Like if Les Miles and that team were here, you would know. Because, look, this team is getting pushed around up front by lesser opponents, teams that you've even beat. Let me say this, too, because a lot of people brought up this to me today. Dare Rosenthal leaving to Kentucky is not why you're 4-4 at LSU. Derek Stingley being out is not why you're 4-4 at LSU. I could go on and on about the injuries, but the reason you're 4-4 is you hired an offensive coordinator that's never called plays before, with a guy and a passing game coordinator who was best buddies with the guy who you had before in 2019. And Durante Jones, God bless his heart, is not calling the defense. Because Dwight McGlothern, before you say Dwight McGlothern, who came in for Derek Stingley's bad, say that to the pick six he had a couple of weeks ago. To everybody that knows football knows what I'm about to say. Guys, they ran man-to-man coverage against Lane Kiffin with two of their best corners out. Derek says his bottom line is Woodward knows he can't fire him with cause due to what would possibly come out. Well, don't fire him with cause. Don't fire him with cause. Pay him his money. Say, Mickey, we really need you. Corey, we really need you. Blake Baker, we really need you. Oh, here it is. Here we go. Y'all heard that? Y'all heard the text? Uh-huh. God, I'm going to get in so much trouble. What's the score now? Who just hit that bomb? Did DeArmond just hit a dinger? Yep. 1-1. God, Astros are booty poo. Amanda says Alabama is beatable. Guys, go to hashtag Tiger Nation. It's our group on Facebook, really good group. A lot of people go in there, and it's a lot of LSU information. I post all my stuff in there. And C King, Talking Tiger Sports, you can go there, and he's got a group there too. Always amazing. A lot of good conversation comes in the Talking Tiger Sports Facebook group. I highly recommend both. But Amanda says Alabama is beatable this season. I wish we were good. They're highly beatable. They're very beatable. So if you remember in the beginning of the season when I was talking a lot about LSU could go 10-2 and LSU could even possibly be 11-1, guys, and I got ripped on a little about I didn't think that Alabama would be good in their front seven defensively. Well, now you're seeing it. We talked about that all the offseason. All the offseason, I said they are vulnerable up front. If you don't have 22 bodies, guys, you can go through walkthrough. If you have 22 bodies on your team, you can go through a small modified walkthrough. You can. And Clark says only player with fight left other than Clark. I'm talking about Damone Clark. Michael Ray says another bad thing. Bama has a bye week too. I know, and they're going to get healthy. C. King says, I know one thing. Jack Besh will be out there fighting. Yeah, he's a fighter. So will Malik Neighbors. So will Brian Thomas. So will BJ Ojolari. So will Jaquelin Roy. Guys, you got kids on this team that don't want to lose and want to play and want to fight. It's a shame that you have a head coach that doesn't. I feel bad for the players, man, honestly. I feel horrible for him. I have no idea what I would do if my head coach was fired midway through the season because he was doing stuff off the field more. Guys, if Ed Orgeron was 4-4 and didn't have the off the field shit, he wouldn't be fired right now. He wouldn't. He wouldn't. They were waiting to the end of the year to can his ass. I drank a Coke before I came. I don't drink Cokes. And if you hear me belching, man, I got a lot of gas, like belching. Maybe because if you don't drink Cokes for a long time, it probably was a bad thing for me to drink a Coke. Chris Hadaway says, who do you think will be next? 100% agree with you, by the way. I think it's going to come down to like guys like Cristobal, Mel Tucker, no specific order, Jimbo Fisher, Dabo. I think Brian Kelly will either has or has not gotten a phone call. I don't know that. I'm just throwing him out there. I think that there's guys in the NFL that will entertain the idea. If Cliff Kingsbury wasn't undefeated, if they start, down the stretch losing games, does he want back in? I highly doubt it. I'm sure that there's a lot of guys that would want in that LSU can go and pull. LSU is probably a top 10 football job, not just college football job. Resources and everything. Travis says Auburn, LOL, how are they not having issues? They're mediocre per usual. Well, if they win out, they're going to be the SEC West champs. Kenny Russell says, hell, it's crazy. The season was lost early, and we're going to play for pride here on out. Now they ain't playing for pride either. This ain't how LSU is supposed to be represented. I agree with that. Mark says, do you think with how much of an idiot Orgeron is, being that Woodward will change his mind and fire him? God, I hope so. God, I hope so. Pooh Bear says, Blake drank that Coke and going to have the bubblies. I got the bubble guts. Thought Cokes were supposed to ease you, Tommy. Sheesh. Pooh Bear, bro, we need to go to lunch or something, man. Pooh Bear's funny, bro. Pooh Bear be cracking me up. All right, a couple more. We're getting out of here. Paul Brown says, do you hear O say today that he loves LSU and will recruit for us the rest of the season and even after he's fired? I'm like, the hell you are. I did hear it. Rodney Kraft says, we're dealing with a small man. I'm 6'3". If you're talking about me, I'm 6'3". Todd says, I blame Oliva for all the BS going on. I shook my head the day they hired him. I agree. By the way, when that day happened, I was sitting around all Alabama fans and a former staff member. And they were looking at me, pointing and laughing. Wasn't it like Thanksgiving Day, like the Saturday of the Saturday after Thanksgiving, or something like that? Sunday after Thanksgiving. I remember being in Huntsville, Alabama, and family members pointing and laughing. So in 2019, y'all want to hear a funny ass story? So when LSU won in 2019 in Tuscaloosa, in front of God and everybody, I roasted the shit out of every family member that's an Alabama fan from here to Kingdom Come. I said they had long ass titties. They mama don't like them. That they need to bow to the king because Joe Burrow's their daddy. I mean, I was going off, and God bless it. I probably shouldn't have done that because I'm reaping what I sow. But God, I was going through a lot of emotional strain from family members ripping my ass year after year about LSU can't beat Alabama. It was an emotional strain for me, and I lashed out, and I said, roll tide, what, F you. And now I'm paying for it. Seeking says, I am sold on Kiffin, but who will coach the defense? Man, anybody that's not named Ed Orgeron. I mean, you're going to get playmakers. Guys, you get guys like Derek Stingley, Jamal Adams, all these dudes. Like, you can pull that. But the problem is that what you can't do is run cover one against Lane Kiffin. See, I don't know about the Lane Kiffin thing. I don't know about the Lane Kiffin thing. Would I be okay with Lane Kiffin as a coach? Yes. Don't get that, Big Daddy. Don't get that twisted. Don't get that twisted. Yeah, I was telling them that mamas. I was telling mamas nobody liked them. All right, two more. We're out of here. Rick says, "How did they hire the guy who bungled the Duke scandal? They must have been thinking Arby's. I've been thinking Arby's. Oh, because they got the meats." You know, Justin brings up an interesting point here. What about Will Muschamp for DC if Kiffin was hired? Jack says, not getting into racist political talk. We will delete that comment. Guys, don't talk racist political talk in this thread. Don't do it. Don't you dare do it. John says, what are the chances we lure Saban away from Bama? 0. Let's just say we throw 12 to 15 million to him. 0. Manor says Kiffin is a bad hire, dangerous hire, risky hire. I am not for it. I agree with that. Jared says, what's the fear with Lane? I think it's because he's dating a 24-year-old woman and you're coming off a coach who has done some really bad things off the field. And if you hire him, I don't think that the boosters will be very happy with that when you're and what will the NCAA, who has not closed an investigation on Will Wade and or Ed Orgeron, will they, and they're not officially opened up on Ed Orgeron, but will they tie all of this and say you have a lack of institutional control because of Lane's past? Do they start digging into Lane's past? Anyway. All right, let's get out of here. Let's go watch some baseball. We've been in at 50 minutes. Let's go watch some baseball. We'll be back tomorrow. I hope you love the rant. It's true. All of it's true. Till then, peace out, Girl Scouts. Need to go get another Coke. I got the bubblies.